Welcome to episode 1 of Points and Penalties, season 2. That's right, we're back for a second season. It's a Christmas fucking miracle. This season, we're trying out a new format, and that should help keep the show's length down and keep the quality of the content up. Hopefully you like the new style, and we'd like to remind you to please subscribe wherever you get your pods. Give us a like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Points Penalties. And in case you didn't remember, my name is Josh. With me are my co-hosts Kevin and Peter. Jesse is a little under the weather today. Pitch. Well, let's start with you, Kev. What are you drinking tonight?
Well, I'm having myself a Junction hazy IPA. It's a 6.2% alcohol. And obviously, we'll just give these ones a crack first because, I'd rather see my first response than, as our run by. Very nice. I like. Again, 6.2 Junction Hazy IPA. Pedro, what are you having, sir?
Thanks, Kev. I'm having the Hoppin' McElroy from Western Newfoundland Brewing Company. It is 5%. Trying to keep it light still since my baby has still decided not to come yet, even though it's well overdue. And to be honest, the real reason I got this is because of the format. This is what's called a crowler, which I had never heard of before today. It is a 946 milliliter can.
Nice.
Called a crowler because it's like a growler, but it's a can.
So it's basically like a king can, would you say?
No, it's bigger than a king can.
Bigger than a king can?
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah, it's gigantic. It's massive. Need 2 hands to hold it. I had to drink out of a glass today. It was too complicated. But anyway, it's pretty good so far. First couple of days. Straight out of Pasadena, Newfoundland, which I don't think I've ever been to. But it's pretty good. Mr. Josh, what are you drinking for episode 1, season 2?
Oh, this season, I'm leading off with Muskoka Brewery, Hazed and Confused Juicy IPA. It's pretty tasty. I'm sure one of you guys have had this in the old season.
Last season didn't count.
But it's okay. Yeah, I really like this. It's an English style IPA. It's a bursting with fruity hop aroma followed by a juicy citrus kick. And it is pretty good. I like it. And it's got, this guy's fucking brains exploding and shit on there. So it's a cool can. It, I believe, takes the cake today at 6.5%. Or does that tie you, Kev? Is that your?
No, I'm a 6.2.
Oh shit! Look at that. Winner, chicken.
That's
dinner.
a light winner. Well played. Well played.
So anyway, guys, we're back now. So how were your holidays? Things good?
And went as well as they should.
Things are good for me, man. Like I said, just waiting for that baby to appear.
Baby,
Yeah.
Fun stuff. Well, start off season 2. Just like to go back and do a little recap of 2021, and I'd like to know what your guys' favorite sports moment was of 2021. So, Kev, you start off with the drink. Why don't you start us off with your favorite sports moment?
My moment would have been the Atlanta Braves winning the World Series with the final game at a 7-0 game. They just whomped them, and it was the last time I think they won it in 1995. And we had George Soler was named the World Series MVP, which is the second Cuban to win the World Series as an MVP, which is pretty decent.
Nothing wrong with your choice here, Kev. The Braves were definitely underdogs going into the playoffs, and for them to be able to pull it out, going through the teams they went through and get the big old W here. Do you even remember who they were playing, Kev?
Yeah, they were playing the Asterix.
All right. Just thought it might be so long ago you might not remember.
Yeah, well, my age is not, that well in remembering, so yeah, I'm getting old.
Not dementia hasn't set in yet.
A little bit. Now, with that being said, in regards to mine here, guys, Peter, who do you have in yours?
Well, I'll just introduce mine by saying this. Alphonso Davies! Alphonso Davies, incredible goal versus Panama. That goal sparked a comeback victory over Panama and the rest of the year of games, which has Canada currently on top of the CONCACAF qualifying and in very good shape for their first World Cup berth since 1986. So on that beautiful play by Davies, he reached a top speed of 37.1 kilometers per hour.
Meep.
He covered 40 yards on the chase before the epic steal right off the out of bounds line, and he covered 80 yards in total before scoring the goal and sparking that comeback against Panama. So
That was an absolute phenomenal goal, man.
Yeah,
I was in awe watching that too. How he ripped that right off that goal line. The buddy's like throwing his arms up like it was if out of bounds. No, man, great goal.
Yeah, and just the state of the Canadian men's national team right now, looking good. I got my hopes up. So Alphonso Davies is my guy with that goal. Josh, how about yourself?
My favorite sports moment of 2021, like you, Pete, it is in the soccer world, and I'm loving the women's Canadian national team winning gold at the Olympics. Score was 1-1 after full time, and then Canada ended up winning 3-2 on PKs. Christine Sinclair was fouled in the penalty area, and after video review, awarded Canada with a PK. And just like in the semifinals against the U.S., Jessie Fleming stepped up and scored to make it a 1-1 game. Obviously, Sweden had scored the opening goal of the match at about the 34th minute or so. So to get this tying goal was phenomenal off this PK, and then to pull it out in penalties later on was absolutely phenomenal. And these women set out to change the color of their medal from bronze from both London in 2012 and Rio in 2016, and they did change it. They changed it to a nice, bright, shiny gold. And it was definitely the highlight of the Olympics for me, and the whole year. It was awesome. It was great to see these women running around and just celebrating like crazy, just because they finally did it. And for a veteran like Christine Sinclair too, she's not going to be playing for too much longer, and for her to finally get that gold medal is a great achievement.
Yeah, I remember that game. I was in the lunchroom at work, and I'm telling you, I mean, there's not too many people in the lunchroom, but trust me, after the way I hoorah'd up, I mean, they were drawing about another 5 or 6 people that were out working, coming into the lunchroom to see what the hell I was screaming and yelling about. Yeah, I mean, trust me, you guys know how I can, cheer and holler and whatever else. I did that then. Great goal. I mean, like you said, Yosh, that great penalty kick and the save. Unbelievable. Yeah,
so that's my favorite sports moment. Unfortunately, Jesse is not here because he's a bitch.
Bitch.
We would ask him, but it is what it is. He doesn't get his favorite sports moment. And I guess if you guys remember back to episode 1 of season 1, it's not quite a full year ago. We started off our episode with some somber news. Well, we're gonna follow in the same footsteps in season 2. It's not great to start this way, but we did have a passing, and Kev's gonna start us off that way.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We had the John Madden passes away on December 28th unexpectedly. Now he's done 10 seasons with the Raiders, and as well as would be considered Oakland. No losing seasons in that time. He was a broadcaster for 3 decades on every major sports network. He had a video game put out there in his name. And we all know John was a great coach and even better man. What do you remember about this guy? I'm going to tell you guys what I remember with him. Some things is that Madden, one, would never ever fly anywhere. He always took his tour bus to wherever he had to go. Yep. And my other favorite thing about
was it the Madden Cruiser, I think.
I think it was. You're correct. I think it was. And the only other thing I have in regards to Mr. Madden, which they had a logo with like a logo of John, and it was over at another network's logo during the NFL game. I wish I could remember the teams that they were playing, but I think that was an honest, like, amazing tribute to him as well by removing their logo and putting his logo there.
I think it might have been NBC, Kev. Did
It
that.
could have been. I don't remember it. Again, I don't remember the team that they were playing. Unfortunately, I am getting old. My memory is sliding away a bit.
There's that dementia.
So that's what I got in regards to remembering of Madden.
Yeah, for me, when I think of the name Madden, first thing that always comes to mind is the game, the video game.
Yeah.
Just because when I grew up, that was the game you wanted to play. You wanted to play against your friends. You wanted to kick their ass and
Yeah, just spin, man, spin.
broker free controllers when you didn't quite win. But that's neither here nor there. But when I think of the man, to me, he's a broadcaster. I wasn't around when he was a coach. And he's a broadcaster to me. That's when I think of John Madden, that's what I think of. And I think he personifies football. He is football. And it's a big loss for the sport.
Yeah, not just a big loss for the sport, but for the world in general. This man was, he wasn't just a great coach; he was an even better man. And he was always going out there to try and give advice and whatnot to all these young players coming up through the works and whatnot, and trying to keep them on the right path if they were potentially veering off. But for me, I agree with you, Pete. It's got to be the video game, because that's, like you said, that's what we played. He played the video game, and I wasn't watching football too much when he was coaching. Although, I know through, watching, episodes or just shows and whatnot, that he was a very good coach, but never got to see it with my own two eyes live. So the video game for me, for sure. And then just some of the goofy things that he says. And it was just so funny. You gotta make sure, all right, he's going to hit the A gap here. Bam! There's the defense right in his face. So it's just shit like that, And I always liked it. I remember one, I can't remember if I've just seen replays of it, or if I was watching it live with my own eyes, but I remember he was talking about the fucking turducken, which is a turkey stuffed with a chicken, stuffed with a fucking duck. And for whatever reason, they didn't have a fucking knife. And this guy, he just takes his fucking hand and he just fucking cuts it right down the breast with his fucking hand. He's like, I don't need no knife. I got a fucking hand. I'll never forget that. And just some of the goofy things that he would say is, if you score more points, you're going to win the game. So, and I don't know. I just, a lot of that probably came from the video game. These short little, little things that you hear and you kind of poke fun at and whatnot. But yeah, John he was a great man, great for football, and the football world won't be the same. But a lot of players had sent out, well wishes to his family and whatnot, and tweeted out this, that, and the other thing, and it was a lot of players. He impacted their lives in one way or another. That's just sad to see him go, especially it wasn't. It's always sad, of course, when somebody passes away, but when it's unexpected like it was, it hurts a little more, and
especially being an icon,
But anyway, let's move on from this somber news. I mean, it doesn't get a whole lot better with what you're going to tell us about, Pete, but it's at least it's not death.
Yeah, we're talking the World Juniors. So we'll start by recapping the short amount of tournament we did get to see. Starting with Owen Power, showing us why he was the #1 pick in 2021, putting up the first ever hat trick by a defenseman in Canadian World Junior history in a 6-3 win against Czechia. I think it's Czechia now, not Czech Republic anymore. I'm not sure on the rules 100%, but Czechia.
Czechia.
And then the next game, Connor Bedard became the youngest player ever to score 4 goals in a World Junior Hockey Championship game. And 4 goals is also the record for most goals in a game by any Canadian in the tournament. And Bedard was very close to scoring 5 near the end of that game.
Shouldn't have passed that puck, man. He would have had it.
Yeah. And he's doing all this at only 16 years old.
Right.
So it's very likely that Canada had on this team the 2021 first overall pick in Owen Power, the 2022 likely first overall pick in Shane Wright, and the 2023 likely first overall pick in Connor Bedard. So a team full of number 1 picks. Unfortunately, their tournament got cut short. But what did you guys think of their performances in the short action we did see from them?
Once I saw that, I guess the Bedard got in there because of a suspension or something like that, or an injury. I don't know which one. I know there's a suspension or an injury. But wow, 16 years old and does what he did. I mean, he says he tried to perfect his shot like he does Austin Matthews. I mean, he just has a great whip, man. That wrist shot, that bend of that stick, unbelievable. The moves, the skill this guy has for between, skate the puck, to skate the stick. His vision's just unbelievable. I mean, this guy's going to be something. I mean, he's got a few more years left in the World Juniors, so look out for that guy.
He may not, though.
Yeah.
He's like 16, right? He's still got years.
But he'll probably be there next year. But after that, he's going to be on an NHL team. He's going to be. They won't let him come play. Same as what happens to Canada all the time. They don't have players.
Now, wasn't there a player that actually stayed and went to state in college so he can actually partake in this World Juniors? I don't remember that kid's name.
Well, that'd be Owen Power.
Was it Owen Power? Yeah.
Yeah. He could be on the Sabres right now, yeah, but he's playing with Michigan.
Right.
Fucking Michigan.
And did you also see guys too? I'm not sure if you heard, but when they all went back into their actually, AHLs, OHLs, that Bedard actually put up another 4 goals, 4 points.
He's just fucking rock star, man.
Yeah.
Now, Kev, I got to know, what did you think of his natural hat trick in this game?
Okay, natural hat trick. I mean, 3 goals. I mean, he got 2 in the first, 1 in the third.
But he got 2 goals with nobody else scoring a goal. There's 3 goals, sorry, with nobody else scoring. That's a natural hat trick.
It is a natural hat trick. But I mean, if you go by from what I've heard on the TV television, that they stated that the actual true natural hat trick is 3 in a period. But then as everybody was showing on our nice little chat, that in regards says, but another natural hat trick would be scoring 3 goals in a row. So therefore, it's still considered a natural hat trick.
Yes, that's what I would call the far more common definition of a natural hat trick, is just 3 in a row, regardless of what period they're in.
I agree. I would call, if we got them all in one period, I would call that a supernatural hat trick.
Ooh.
But they don't call it a supernatural when it happens. They just call it a natural.
Fucking get the word out there, boys. Yosh from P&P says supernatural hat trick.
Yeah. So, Kev, riddle me this. If Bedard scores, then somebody else scores, but then Bedard scores 2 more times, all in one period, is that a natural hat trick?
Not if someone else scored prior to him doing it.
Do you think it's got to be the supernatural?
Well, if anybody scores before he scores his other 2 or another 1, it's not considered a natural hat trick.
I agree.
It's just a hat trick, right?
Yeah.
Hat tricks aside, we can argue about this all night. We haven't even got into it. But all 3 of these guys, you didn't see a whole lot of breakout from Shane Wright, but the other 2, Owen Power and Connor Bedard, were just absolutely amazing. And it's funny because there was a lot of talk about through the first couple of games, or first game or so, whatever. They played 2 games or 3 games did they get in?
I think it was
2 games.
2 games.
Yeah.
So I guess it must have just been through the first game, and they were saying, "Well, where's Connor? He hasn't done anything yet. He hasn't shown up with a score sheet." And then the next night or 2 nights later, whatever, and he lights it right up. And like you said, Kev, his abilities are very good. He's very well rounded in all those aspects you talked about. His stick handling and his skating is phenomenal. But I think for me, it's his vision. It's the vision and the awareness that is the stuff that's hard to teach. That you can teach stick handling. Sure, you're gonna have a natural ability, but you can learn to be better. But the vision, the awareness is a tough thing to teach, and it's a tough thing to gain if you don't have it already. So for him to be able to see the ice, and it seems like the game is slowed down.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, like I've had moments when I've been in sports where it just seems like everything just fucking slowed down, and you see it before it happens. And I'm sure that happens to a lot with these kids growing up now. I mean, this guy must have some kind of capability to take a deep breath and have everything just go slow mo.
Yep. And maybe the first game was just like, okay, this is the biggest stage of my career, this biggest stage of my life, this is the biggest game of my life, playing for Team Canada, even though it is just a round robin game. And maybe he was just a little gun shy, and then he's like, all right, I got my feet underneath me now, I got the feel for things, and let's go light it up. And he fucking did. So
yeah. And if he didn't pass the puck, he could have had fucking 5.
Yeah.
He could have beat Gretzky.
And how hard that is as a 16-year-old when the tournament is mostly 18 and 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like we saw Connor McDavid at this tournament as a 16-year-old. He didn't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is some serious, extremely high level hockey we're seeing out of Connor Bedard.
Yeah. From my understanding too, from what I've heard, that he actually had an agent approach his family, his mother and father, at 10 years old. So this guy's going to be something. Can you imagine having an agent knocking your door talking about your 10-year-old kid?
No, I cannot.
That's something. That is fucking something.
Get your kid in hockey there, Pete. Start him young.
Yeah.
Boy nor girl, bud.
I gotta go buy some skates.
Yeah.
I just gotta wait for it to be born to see if they're pink or blue.
Yeah. Either or, bud. There's an NHL for the ladies, and there's an NHL obviously for our men. So either or, they can definitely go somewhere in hockey.
Yeah. So Josh, you mentioned that we didn't see much out of Shane Wright, and I think that's just because it was such a short.
It's 2 games.
We only saw 2 games. We saw a great game out of Owen Power. We saw a great game out of Connor Bedard. Maybe the next game Shane Wright would have lit it up.
Yep.
But unfortunately, the tournament got cut short. As we know, things took a turn for the worst when the U.S. had to forfeit their game against Switzerland on the Tuesday, the 28th. And then the next day, both Russia and Czechia forfeited games. And that same day, the tournament was announced that it was canceled. And that was a sad day for me because I was enjoying watching these.
Oh, buddy, I watch that religiously every year.
Yeah. But there may be hope still. IIHF President Luc Tardif discussed the possibility of completing the tournament in June, July, or August. Further discussions are to be held this month. And he said, we're going to take the next month to think about it and maybe come with a good surprise. So a question for you two. Do you think they will complete the tournament? And if so, how do you think Canada will finish, given what we saw out of the 2 short games?
I don't think it's happening. I don't think they're going to continue it. And like, say if they do continue it, are they going to start it like a brand new? Is everything at zeros? Or are they going to still have your Canadas with the 2 wins and everybody else with their wins or losses? I mean, or again, is it starting as a new tournament? If that's the case, then I still see Canada just dominating.
Yeah, those are all good questions because we don't know. Like, there may not be the same player availability.
Of course, because the ages, right?
Now. So if you have to change up your roster, it doesn't make sense to just restart the whole tournament. Maybe we didn't get very deep into it.
But if you're losing some to age, that just sucks. I mean,
yeah. I mean, would they have an exemption for players because they aged out?
They might say as long as you were of age at the beginning of the
tournament,
then you'd be fine. I would think.
You would hope. I mean, but yeah,
I would think so too.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to do it either, Kev. I just the way that they just shut it down, like they shut not just the men's tournament, but like the women's tournament was shut down real fucking quick. That's not juniors, but there was
under 18. I think it was.
Was it under 18? Okay, so And there was no talk of that, even like, no, we're canceling it, boom. And then there was huge outcry, and then other entities stepped up to say that we would host and this, that, the other thing. And then this came down with the man, and then everything was shut down. So obviously that would kibosh everything. I just don't think that the IIHF is going to pull that out. Maybe. I have my doubts. If they did re-upped it, whether they restart or continue, my guess is probably, I'm gonna say they continue, but the forfeited games won't count.
Yeah.
So the US and the Russians there, and
They're gonna have to play.
They would get to play that game again.
I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's going to be the case there. And whether they carry on this year with it, or it ends up being kibosh and we just roll into next year, either way, Canada's win the next one. So
well, you speak confidently, but keep in mind it's been us, the Finns, or the States trading off victories in this tournament.
I know it wouldn't have happened this year.
Which is what we love about this tournament, that it can go any way, any year. Because like, if you remember last year, last year's team looked a lot better than this year's team did so far, based on their performance. Like, that team never trailed a game right up until the gold medal game, but they also never faced any adversity because of that. They just dominated everyone they saw until they lost in the gold medal game. So right away, this team had already trailed against Czechia.
And they called a fucking timeout, and what they do after that? They exploded, man, and they didn't score anything after.
So does that mean the team is not as good? I don't know.
Maybe they just need a kick in the ass every now and then. That's all.
Yeah, maybe that's the adversity they needed to learn how to win when it gets tough. I don't know. It would be interesting to see. I hope they find a way to get it done. I think if it's going to be hard to find a scheduled time that works for everybody, but I think the kids want to do it. The people want to watch it. So I think it is going to happen.
Well, you got some high wishes there, Pedro.
Might as well be optimistic. It's early in the year, you know. I'll be a pessimist around October.
We got a little bit of more hockey coming up later. I know Kev's got a little bit of a connection here between the World Juniors and our next hockey topic here. So I'll let Kev get into that a little later, but I know he was itching to talk about it yesterday. So, but that's neither here nor there. Well, we're talking about the World Juniors and our next segment here.
So, our MVP, our first MVP of season 2, goes to a former Raptor, now a Chicago Bull, DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
So DeMar has led the Bulls to 9 straight wins. The 10th game is today against the Mavs. Not sure how that went, or if it's over yet.
It's probably just in the first or second quarter right now.
He's averaged 27.6 assists and 4 rebounds over that span. He has Bulls in first place in the Eastern Conference with a record of 26-10, 2 games up on the Nets. And the real reason, the real cake topper here that got him into the MVP this week. On New Year's Eve, DeRozan made NBA history by being the first player to hit walk-off buzzer beaters in back-to-back games.
Oh,
So DeRozan beat the Pacers with an end-of-game winner on the 31st and followed it up the very next game with a last-second 3 to beat the Wizards. They're both threes, I think. Were they not?
They were. One was a pump fake and just unbelievable. I mean, the way that the Bulls gathered and jumped on him. Wow.
Yeah. And I think that was the first one. Like, the first one, it was like, holy shit, it's a fucking game-ending buzzer beater 3. This never happens. This is crazy. And it happens again the very next game. Very same guy. DeMar DeRozan. I always liked him when he was with the Raps.
Me too, man. He was one of my favorite guys.
Yeah.
I think this might be another point in NBA history. It's the first time that there's been buzzer beaters in back-to-back games in back-to-back years. So because it was over, one was in 21 and 22, so, which is kind of cool too.
Yeah, a little bit of sort of off-the-cuff trivia there.
Yeah.
So DeMar is currently first place in NBA All-Star voting for East backcourt players. And don't forget about your boy, Freddie VanVleet, people of the world, for East backcourt players as well. But our MVP is DeMar DeRozan, going back-to-back game winners, never done before. So DeMar DeRozan, cheers. Season 2, Episode 1, MVP.
MVP.
Now, why don't we roll into what's going on the pitch with TFC?
Foosball.
Foosball.
The foosball.
Well, we got some pretty big news. Big enough news that it reaches the PMP audience. We're not huge on this soccer stuff in season 1, but I have a feeling that's going to change throughout season 2 with this signing. So TFC has announced a record-breaking pre-contract with Italian winger Lorenzo Insigne. The contract is it's ballparked at 4 years at upwards of $15 million US per season plus bonuses, which is pretty hefty.
That's way more than any other MLS contract.
Yeah, it's pretty hefty.
Like double.
So the timing of this of Insigne's pending arrival is fitting. The sport's taking hold of the country like never before. As we talked about, the national women's team coming off the Olympic gold medal performance, while the men are on the verge of their first World Cup berth since '86, and Canada will co-host the 2026 World Cup. So it's huge. This timing, it's going to draw a whole lot more fans. There's already a ton of fans in Canada with soccer and with our diverse background of how many nationalities we have here. And so everybody loves their teams, their Portugals, their Spains, their Italy, and so on and so forth. So to have this superstar, and that's a good way to put it. He's a superstar. To have him to be able to come over is just insane for Toronto. He is currently playing with Napoli. He will be joining TFC in I believe it's July. So 416 caps with Napoli. He's got 114 goals and 95 assists. That's pretty good.
That's really good.
That's pretty good. In the past, he's in the Serie B champion, and he was Footballer of the Year, Supercoppa Italiana champ, UEFA Euro champ this past tournament 2020, 2 times Coppa Italia champ, and he was the Coppa Italia top goal scorer in 2013 and 2014. This is really big news. When I first heard about this, not being the massive TFC fan that I should be, I used to be a lot bigger fan when they first started out. I was going to a handful of games every year and whatnot, so I would have been a lot more excited about this. But after reading into this, I'm back on the excite train. I think this is going to be really good. I've talked to my soccer insider, Kev. Last year, you had a curling insider, so I spoke to my soccer insider, and he says this is a big deal. He says if you thought Giovinco coming into the MLS and taking over and basically being one of the best in MLS history, you think he was good? Wait till you see this guy.
I was about to ask you that. I was going to say, who's going to be the better guy? I mean, is it going to be Giovinco or this guy? But you always answered that, Yosh. I mean, if your insider is as good as your insider is, which I think we all know, your insider is pretty, good. So,
yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be good. Now, they need to build a little bit more around him. They're likely gonna lose Josie Altidore. They're likely gonna have to move him because of this signing, but that's okay. He doesn't seem to want to play in Toronto anyway, so fuck him. But there's definitely some other things they need to do. They need to bolster the defense. There's no question about that. And it wouldn't hurt maybe to bring in a center forward type thing so that Insigne can pass on the ball and can get some assists going on.
little bit more vision of the field, kind of.
Well, just somebody else to help them out, right? Like there's a few other guys. I can't remember their names. One starts with an S and one starts with a P. I cannot remember their names offhand because that's how I do. My dementia is coming in nicely. And, but they're helpers, but they need a little bit more. Basically, one guy isn't going to catapult this team into stardom. So they need to get a few other guys, supporting cast type guys, and maybe maybe one more superstar that doesn't get paid quite as much to help out. So I got two questions for you guys regarding TFC and the signing. So one, I would like to know what you guys think the signing is going to do for TFC next year. So where are they gonna finish in the table? Do they make the playoffs? Do they win it? To win the whole thing? Do they not make the playoffs? Are they still the worst team in the league? So what do you guys think on that? And then second to that, what do you think the signing is going to do for soccer in Canada? As I had mentioned, with the Canada co-hosting the 2026 Cup and all this crazy good stuff that's happening in soccer for Canada, where do you think Canadian soccer or soccer in Canada is going to go from here?
Yeah. So for TFC, you mentioned Giovinco, and this signing has so many stark comparisons to the Giovinco signing, at least to me. Not just that they're both Italian, but it seems that it's a very similar sort of high-profile superstar signing coming to TFC.
Except for their age.
Yes, he is quite a bit older than Giovinco was when he came over, for sure. So, and I don't have
You know what, Pete, before you carry on, I'm going to challenge you. I think it's the other way around. I think Lorenzo's younger.
No way.
Boom! Here we go. First challenge. Season 2, season 1. All right.
From when they came over, like, I'm pretty Lorenzo's like 30, 31.
Giovinco was like 20 when he came over.
No.
Yeah, buddy.
Huh. All right. Well, there's our first challenge anyway. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Whatever it is, what it is. Anyway, carry on with your.
Just want to point out, I won the first challenge last week.
We'll see. We got to Google this shit.
All right. Because there was talks about Giovinco coming back, and
that'd be sick.
Those talks fell through.
Oh.
Because they went with Insigne. Yeah, I think it'll be a very similar. At least I hope it'll be very similar to when Giovinco came in terms of success for TFC. I don't know what it's going to mean this year. Hopefully they make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to win it all this year, but I think within a couple of years they should be on top of the MLS again. And we'll have to see that.
If this guy's as good as he says he is, from your insider there, Yosh, I don't see him making it, like you said, Pedro, but I also don't see them being on the bottom feeder. They're not bottom feeders this year. And if in regards to what Soccer Canada, what this watching this skill of talent that the TFC had and can have is only going to help Canadian soccer because all these kids now are watching it.
Yeah, for sure. So in a vacuum, I think this does a bit for soccer in Canada. But while the Canadian men's national team is doing as well as they are, and this signing coming to TFC in Canada's biggest city, I think soccer is going to do a huge spike in terms of popularity in this country.
Now, I think Josh and I had a little bit of a powwow in regards to possibly the best Canadian or soccer that was out there. And I mentioned that, Pele did at one time play. It's not saying it's the MLS, but he played in what that was considered or what brought the MLS together, which, does help bring more fans. And then that's why the Toronto Blizzards are now considered the Toronto FC.
I mean, it's not the same franchise, but
right.
But like you said, I think it was the NWSL, I want to say.
Probably. I think that's what it may have been.
Well,
that was a long time ago, though.
I'm going to come right out and say it, and I assume much of our audience is in the same boat as I'm in. This is the first time I've heard any of this or heard of that league at all.
Toronto Blizzards. Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
Toronto had one way back when. I think it was back in close to the 80s. I think the Blizzards were playing.
Yeah.
Or had a team.
Well, Pete, I looked it up, and you weren't quite as right as you thought you were, but
I was pretty close, though. I was
You're
pretty
right.
close.
So Insigne he's 31, I believe. He's 30 years old. And Giovenco in 2015, when he joined, was 28.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
Oh.
But this guy is, I mean, he's probably you could say it's at the tail end of his prime, but he's going to light it up here. And I'm excited. I'm excited to watch soccer again. And hopefully they can give him a supporting cast that can help him put goals in that net, and maybe get some defense that can help save some as well. So
Absolutely.
okay, so as mentioned before, I had said that we had some more hockey news coming up, and I know that Kev definitely he's going to mention something a little bit once Pete gets through his intro to this. So Pete, why don't you take us into the next round of hockey?
Yeah, we are talking about the NHL pulling out of the Olympics, which are scheduled to start, I think, less than a month from now. I could be wrong, but it's very soon. So the NHL announced on December 22nd that the season had been materially disrupted by COVID-19 and enacted a clause that allowed the league to cancel the NHL players' involvement in the 2022 Olympics. Now, that rubbed a lot of players the wrong way because in the last CBA negotiations, the players bargained for the right to choose for themselves if they went to the Olympics or not. But the material disruption clause allowed the NHL to essentially supersede that right. And that's because the NHL intends to use the Olympic break time to play all or most of the games that have been postponed due to COVID-19. So I'm just going to read a tweet from Brad Marchand about this. He said, the NHL and NHLPA can change the rules of the CBA to add a taxi squad so that they don't miss any games and don't lose any money, which has already been agreed upon that the players will pay back in escrow until the owners are made whole from what they have lost during this pandemic, regardless of how many games are missed. Yet they can't do a taxi squad during the Olympics, so they can honor the agreement they made so the NHL players can go. Please tell me that's not bullshit. And for all of you who want to pipe back about forfeiting pay while being gone, yeah, not a problem. Let the players make their choice. And it was also brought up on Hockey Night in Canada on Elliot Friedman that the players are looking for loopholes. Talking to some, he said that one of the things a few of them asked was, could we retire or find some way to void our contracts, go play in the Olympics, and find a way to come re-sign with their former team?
Wow.
Which is definitely not going to happen. The NHL is not going to allow that. No chance. But do you guys agree with the decision made here by the NHL?
Yep. 100%.
Why?
Are you going to really chance to have someone going over there and catching the vid? Now you're there for 5 weeks. Like say Connor goes over, you know, Ovechkin, all these big marquee players in the NHL go over and they catch the vid. They're there for 5 weeks.
But should that not be up to them the way they bargained for? If they want to go over there, play Olympic hockey.
But you as a GM, are you going to allow them to go? I mean, do you really want to have that risk of them going over? I wouldn't.
No, of course not. But that's why the players bargained for this to be their choice. But the NHL,
Bettman backed out because Bettman said, yeah, you guys can have your players this year, and then said nope.
Yeah, there's essentially a backup clause there that if things go to shit he can pull the plug on them going to the Olympics, which is exactly what happened.
Mhm.
And it makes sense. It makes sense that they're going to use that time to fill all the games that have been postponed. That piece makes sense for sure.
The way I see the Olympics, though, the Olympics should not be in regards to multi-million-dollar paid players to go. If anything that should be happening in this situation, you should be sending the World Juniors over. You can't finish that tournament. Why don't you just sit there and put them in the Olympics? I mean, they're not hurting their farm teams because they got several players that can play without them not being there, COVID or not, if they catch it there. Send these little fuckers over there. Show us what they can do. Because, I mean, they're doing well. So why not sit there and show the whole world what you're all about?
But so if you're the GM of the, I don't know, the Peterborough Petes, for just an OHL team that comes to mind.
Kitchener fucking Rangers wouldn't have come to mind first.
Sure, Kitchener Rangers,
London Knights.
London Knights, whatever. And you have a member of your team wants to go play in the Olympics with the World Juniors. Don't you want to say no?
Right. So from an Olympic from an NHL standpoint, from a team standpoint, this is the decision that they want. They don't want, they have to protect their assets. The team, especially, they're not going to, you're not going to throw away, like I said, Kev, maybe they're stuck there for 5 weeks. So you don't want to essentially throw away your NHL season, depending on who you're missing off of your team, because of this. So I understand where the NHL and the teams are coming from. But I also see where Brad Marchand and the players are coming from. Like, it is a CBA. We did sign it this way. It should be our choice to go or not. I like that he's saying we'll forfeit the pay, and that's cool too. I think that's a great incentive to try and get the NHL and the NHLPA to let them go.
Where's this World Cup? I mean, like, bring that back. Bring your multi-million-dollar player hockey and make a World Cup. Let that be said in regards to your best on best.
Yeah, so I was gonna exactly get into this point. Since they're not going to the Olympics, the best NHL players, and we haven't seen best on best since, I guess, the World Cup in 2016, but really the Sochi Olympics in 2014. And the World Cup wasn't. There wasn't that much of an appetite for it in 2016 because we had just seen the Olympics a couple of years previous with best on best. Now it's been 8 years since Sochi. I think the appetite is a lot more, like you said, Kev, for another World Cup now to get some best on best international hockey than it was when they did the last World Cup in 2016.
Yeah, man. Nothing like having a pass from Lemieux to Gretzky or vice versa way back when they played that in Hamilton, I think it was. That's what I'd like to see. I mean, that's, to me, is like something that should be done all the time. Don't send these guys over the Olympics. Again, these people going to the Olympics are the up and coming. We want to see these people that are up and coming, not people that we already watch every day in the NHL.
No, I disagree. Like the Olympics, for what it's worth, just means more. If Team Canada wins at the World Cup versus winning at the Olympics, I care a lot more if they win at the Olympics.
Yeah.
But do you still want to see the NHLers though? But that's what I'm getting at. I mean, these kids, I think it's the up and coming kids that should be going to these things. I mean, you don't see a track player that's making millions and millions of dollars running 200 meters to the 100 meter.
That's because track is in a multi-million-dollar business.
Right.
You see tennis players, they're multimillionaires, they're playing
there.
there.
Then I disagree. Then they should not be there.
Didn't they just put golf in this past year in Tokyo, and those superstars were there for golf?
I just don't think that multi-million-dollar players should be doing this, because this should be, again, to me, bringing up the other bests.
But the Olympics is supposed to be the best athlete in that genre of sport. So whether it's hockey, whether it's weightlifting or fucking skeet shooting, like, if you're the best, you're the best. You should be there. Now, typically they were amateur athletes. Back in the day, they used to be amateur athletes. So that was before That's before these pros, the NHL type players would be allowed to go because those guys are pros as opposed to the amateurs. But that has since changed. I have no problem with NHL players. I don't want to watch this Olympic tournament with
Cancel it.
Who's the biggest fucking name that we're gonna have on our team? Fucking Eric Oldman Stahl.
Actually,
Like,
no, he's in the NHL. He won't be there. Probably. What I've heard is that Owen Power might actually want to go to the Olympics.
okay, so that's cool.
He'll probably be the biggest name there.
But that's what I mean. So there's any guys that used to play, you might get like a Derek fucking Roy. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
So what do we want? We don't want to watch him.
No.
Like Kev, I get what you're saying about bringing the World Juniors in. We talked about this a bit last night. But they're the best at 16 to 18, or and as the Peterborough Petes or the Kitchener Rangers, if you have one of these superstar young guys on your OHL team, or they've already been drafted and they're owned by an NHL team, now are you gonna let Connor Bedard go and play against men? Like, Connor's still a small guy. Like, sure, he's big, but he's not as big as you and me.
Did Austin Matthews did not do that, didn't he? I mean, Austin Matthews didn't go through the OHL, MHL, or AHL or Quebec Major Junior.
He was
at that age. Well, he was at 18.
Yeah, I'm just saying you don't want.
There's a big difference between 16 and 18.
Right. And if a guy like Bedard or Powers gets fucking demolished in the corner or something and gets hurt, like, obviously injuries can happen anytime to anyone. But to me, when you put a younger kid like this in harm, you're putting him in harm's way by putting him up against bigger, stronger men who have played the game for many more years and know the international game and the Olympic type game. I just think you're not protecting your assets as a general manager, as a team, and even as a PA.
Yeah. And even back to the COVID problem, like if Connor Bedard goes to the Olympics and gets COVID and is there for 5 weeks, I don't know what CHL team he plays for.
He's not hurting his team.
But I don't know.
But he's not hurting.
What do you mean? He's Connor Bedard. You don't think not having him there for 5 weeks hurts the team?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like, he won't be playing in the NHL.
No,
but his AHL or his OHL team they'll definitely be fuckered.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, they're still in the business to try and win, right?
Absolutely.
So it's one of those things. What do you do, right? Like I said, I watch some random Olympic hockey with Derek Roy as our captain? Maybe. I'm using Derek Roy, obviously.
if it's on and nothing else is on.
I just think they should cancel it. Just cancel the Olympics. I mean, wait till it's actually, good enough to be able to be afforded. Nah.
Okay, so here's another question now, and Bettman has mentioned this, that he is lobbying for the IIHF, the IOC, excuse me, to move hockey to the Summer Olympics. Now, the hockey, right? I know that's exactly the face that I gave. Originally, hockey debuted in whatever year in the Olympics, and it was in the Summer Olympics when it debuted. So he's lobbying or attempting to, or at least he put some feelers out there to try and get them to move hockey to the Summer Olympics so that all the NHL players can always go, because it'll be in the off season and whatnot. And then that way soon we could get another best on best Olympic style competition.
See, I don't mind that because they're not getting paid in the summer. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, even if I think they shouldn't get paid to begin with. It's a volunteer. I want to go to the Olympics. I'm good enough to make it. And you should have forfeit your pay. I think that would be the way to do it. Saves the fucking team's money, but not that money's a big fucking problem. But, so what do you guys think about this? Like, Kevin, so you like that idea? You think that the summer would be all right? Like, I think it's a little odd.
It is very odd because the ice is not going to be all that spectacular.
Well, why not? It's indoors.
It's indoors, yeah.
The temperature still is going to affect in regards to your stadium.
No, technology. No, yeah,
it's not fucking Maple Leaf Gardens in the fucking 70s.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. See, I'm stuck in that area, man. My bad, guys. My bad.
Yeah, my first. I've never heard that before. My first take on that is that's odd.
Yeah.
That's weird. but it might make it a whole lot of sense. There might be a lot of reason to that, to push it to the summers, and then it can always happen.
Write a letter, Yosh.
I mean,
Write a letter. We should all write a
Well,
letter and put stamp P&P all over it and say, "Hey, fuckers, try this."
I assume you heard that somewhere, and it's not just.
I saw a fucking press conference with
Yeah.
with
That
fucking
was
Gary.
Batman. You said, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, you know. I mean, it seems stupid because it's summer and it's a winter fucking game, but
It does at first, but
It's feasible.
you know, would it make sense to do that? You know, I mean, it definitely works for the NHL, 100%. Works for them, works for the players. It's just goofy that you're gonna have. It's just goofy that you're gonna have hockey in summer, and it's not field hockey. So.
yeah, you'll be watching fucking swimming, and then the hockey game's starting. Great.
Exactly. So
Penny, you're great, but see ya.
yeah, for sure. Okay, guys, time's winding down here, so I think we should move on into our penalty boxes. Kev, you got a pretty good one here. Why don't you fire us up?
Well, if you guys haven't noticed, every time I have some kind of silly penalty box, I do put up like a little link so you can kind of, you know, see what's going on. So what I have here, man, I have during a contest in the Mexican Pacific Baseball League, umpire Herberto Ciez had to be removed from the field after following officials, being that he was drunk out of his mind. So Mr. Ciez had a few too many wobbly pops before the game as a pregame, you know, ritual, I guess, for him. There's nothing quite like an icy cold beer watching a baseball game, except maybe not to do that as you're one of the umpires. There is a simply no one in the stadium that Sanchez obviously was hammered as shit, starts flipping off everybody in regards to, you know, down the first baseline, and just before everything's getting ready to undergo, he flips off the fucking home base umpire, and here we go. So then they go ahead and kind of remove him. Now, it took some time to remove him off the field because he's fucking hammered and he thinks he's not doing anything wrong. But in the video, you see him standing there. He is staggering a bit. He is doing a little bit of the wobble. Yeah. So with regards to that, man, some umpires, I tell you, they try to get away with murder. And this guy here definitely was not getting away with murder.
How'd they find out he was drunk? Was he just making terrible calls? Like, ball way off the plate. That's a strike.
I have no idea what was. I think it was him flipping off the fans in the first row.
Oh, he did that before he was getting kicked out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He was just that drunk. And then he was like flipping off, I guess, of the home plate umpire. So he wasn't at home. I think he was either first base or off the. Yeah, it was third. Yeah, one of these lines. First or third base ump. Yeah, man, he had to remove him. It was pretty comical. If you haven't seen the video, it's there. We can look at it later or now, either or. But that's who I have in my box. You drunk fuck. Get off the field.
Drink after the game, not before. Come on.
Hey, Drew, who are you throwing into yours?
Yeah, so in my box is Mr. Antonio Brown for his outburst against the Jets, taking off his pads, running off the field in the middle of the game where they were losing. They came back to win. So he was cut afterwards. But on the bright side, he will not be fined by the NFL for uniform conduct misbehavior, which he very well could have been. So that was nice of him. He has since said that he did not quit, he was cut. So a statement from him is that I took a seat on the sideline and my coach came up to me, very upset, and shouted, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?" I told him it's my ankle, but he knew that. It was well documented. We had discussed it. He then ordered me to get on the field. I said, "Coach, I can't." He didn't call for medical attention. Instead, he shouted at me, "You're done." He ran his finger across his throat. Coach is telling me that if I didn't play hurt, then I was done with the Bucks. As part of their ongoing cover-up, they are acting like I wasn't cut and now demanding that I see a doctor of their choice to examine my ankle. What they did, not knowing until now, is that on Monday morning, I had an urgent MRI on my ankle. It shows broken bone fragments stuck in my ankle and the ligament torn from the bone and cartilage loss, which are beyond painful. You can see the bone bulging from the outside. Once my surgery is complete, I'll be back to 100% and looking forward to next season. Business gonna be booming. So he also said that apparently they had injected him with a very strong painkiller that's apparently not supposed to be used anymore. But that has not been confirmed. So Bruce Arians' response to the statement, the head coach of the Bucks, at no point in time during that game did he ever ask the trainer or doctor about his ankle. That's the normal protocol. You go through protocols during games. I was never notified of it. So obviously that was the disturbing thing when we were looking for him to go back into the game. He was very upset at halftime about who was getting targeted. We got that calmed down. The players took care of that. It started again on the sideline. We called for the personnel group that he had played in the entire game, and he refused to go into the game. That's when I looked back and saw him basically wave off the coach. Then I went back and approached him about what was going on. I ain't playing. What's going on? I ain't getting the ball. That's when I said, you're done. Get the F out of here. That's the end of it. We are working on Carolina. So I don't know who's right and who's wrong in this situation.
He said, she said.
My opinion, they're both kind of goofs. Arians went to the podium looking like he was straight out of Duck Dynasty at one point. But for just doing a striptease during the middle of a game and bouncing and running off the field, piecing the fans, that's not the way to handle yourself, man.
No.
So Antonio Brown, whether you're right or wrong here, you're in my penalty box. That's not the way to handle it.
I give Evans at least the kudos to try. You know, he tried twice to sit there and get him to sit down and relax. He pulled his jersey down once. I think he grabbed him on the pads. And then the third time he's like, all right, man, fuck you. And he turned around and just let him do what he had to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, I give Evans, like I said, the kudos. I mean, just sit here. Stay away from the coaches. Just fucking don't be seen. And everything I think would have been fine.
Yeah.
This is definitely an interesting situation because right after the game, you know, the press conferences, Brady comes out and says that we need to give him all the support we can because of these mental health issues that we know that he has, and this, that, the other thing. And then there really had, you know, he was kind of the only guy that said anything about that. Like, you know, even Arians later on, he came out and said, you know, that we love the guy and this, that, the other thing, but he obviously was not impressed with AB not going back into the game. But I don't know. If you're AB and you got a bummed ankle, let's assume that it's a bummed ankle and it is as bad as he's saying it is, and the coach is telling you to go in and you can't, what do? You're between a rock and a hard place. You can't do it. So now you're going to potentially be cut. You're going to get potentially suspended by the team, whatever, because you're not going in, but the team thinks you're good to go. But at the other side of it, you know, if you go out and you play and you fuck up your ankle even more and it ruins your career, now you're fucked. Now, could you then go back and sue the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Probably.
Probably not.
They said they said he was good to go, he was healthy, and then he goes out there and they can tell it wasn't a fresh break. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I think this is part of where the he said, she said comes into this, because it shouldn't necessarily be just Brown making that decision. He should be talking to doctors. He should be getting their opinion. That should be conveyed to the coach. Maybe they would have completely agreed with him. Yeah, if you're hurting that much, your ankle looks like I can see the bone turning or whatever.
Yep.
You're out.
Yeah.
Sorry, coach. He can't play, coach. Sorry.
Yeah, the cutthroat didn't happen. The cutthroat would have went the other way. Sorry, coach, he's done.
Yeah, exactly.
And you going, you're done. Yeah.
Sounds like that didn't happen. Maybe that's just a breakdown in communication. I don't know.
So does he play another snap with an NFL team?
Yes.
You think so?
Yep.
Who picks him up? He was just waived by everybody.
Yep.
Nobody wanted him. So where does he go?
In the wake of all this, that doesn't surprise me. I think in the offseason he'll probably get signed somewhere. I don't know where.
I think he's going to take his words back to the USFL and sit there and say, "Yeah, man, I'll come play. I'll be your billboard guy for the USFL."
Maybe. I don't think he'll play another snap in the NFL.
I agree with you, Yosh.
I think all the teams are looking at this and saying, "No, this guy's way too much of a liability." His production isn't even that great anymore. Like, it's good, but he's not the Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh.
He's beyond a cancer in the room. He's beyond cancer in that room. You never know what AB you're going to get.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want him.
Someone will take him. I'm telling you.
I mean, it's going to be like the Jets or
a Jags.
Like
it's going to be a shit team.
Chance, right?
Yeah.
It'll be an NFL team.
Maybe if it is, but I don't know. I don't think you're going to see, the Rams aren't picking him up, or some of these top end, the Green Bay Packers aren't picking him up. I mean, maybe they pick him up after they lose fucking Rodgers next year, but who knows, right?
So Kev, what did you say? You agree he won't play another snap in the NFL?
Yep, I agree. He will not play another snap in the NFL. I wouldn't want him. I really wouldn't. I mean, unless you're going to sit there and put him through therapy before every game and maybe after every game, and then that therapist says, okay, he's good to play, or he's not good to play this game. Without that, I wouldn't take him.
Yeah, but this one doesn't seem to be, although Brady made it seem to be it was a mental health thing, it really doesn't seem to be a mental health issue this time. It seems like it's, I'm hurt, I can't play, shut the fuck up, play. That's kind of what it seems. It doesn't really seem to be a mental health issue. He seems to be like he's in the right place to play football. He just, if he's hurt or he believes he's hurt, then your therapy.
That's not my helmet. I'm not going to play without my helmet.
Yeah, but that was fucking years ago, man. Like, he's past that shit. Like,
is he?
I wouldn't play without my helmet either. Like, I wouldn't wear your helmet.
But if you're getting a brand new helmet that says this is the helmet you have to play with,
there was lots of guys that didn't want to get a new helmet because of the concussion thing where they phased out some of the old helmets. There was a bunch of guys, and eventually I'm the same.
Suck it up and wear it.
I'm superstitious like that. Like, I've had a fucking set of old ass golf clubs for 100 years, and I won't trade them in, even though I know a better set, a newer set will probably make me a better golfer.
But if this thing here is going to tell you it's going to save you from concussions, it's going to save you from fucking other injuries, you're not going to sit there and say, okay, this is probably better helmet for me to be wearing.
I mean, he switched. So
more importantly, after your golf season last year, maybe consider maybe those things are a bit too old.
I'm thinking one more year with my old clubs, and maybe we'll get some new ones as a wedding gift or something in the fall. All right, so my box this week is referee Matthew Kalayo.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. NBA referee Matthew Kalayo. So he's a younger referee in the association, and he had Kyle Lowry ejected in the Heat's January 5th game versus the Portland Trailblazers.
Oh, him,
yeah. So Kayla was ejected after receiving his second technical foul, which has been a long-standing NBA rule. We all know that. How he got his second technical is a bit more confusing, though. So Kyle turned and he underhand tossed the ball to the ref, this Matthew Kaleo, and then he was quickly given the tech right after that. Now, in a post-game interview, crew chief Derek Richardson said after the game that Lowry was ejected for continuous complaining and throwing the ball at a game official in an unsportsmanlike manner. Now, yes, he was continually complaining. He got his first tech for bitching and moaning about a personal foul that he didn't like. So he was bitching and moaning. He got teched up for that. And then a little bit later on, this happens. He's still bitching. I remember there was an inbound and Lowry was standing right beside the ref. Lowry was inbounds. The ref was out of bounds. The other player had the ball beside the ref out of bounds, literally just handed the ball to Lowry because they were standing and he was bouncing the ball and he's just still bitching at him about this ref, about these calls. So he ends up getting the second technical by it was a stoppage in play. He underhanded. There was no speed. There is no aggressiveness in this toss. It was a nice, easy.
It was a toss.
And this egomaniac fucking referee decides to tee him up again, which obviously resulted in that ejection. Like I said, there was definitely no question that Kyle was complaining, and he seemed to be directing some profanity at Kyle and the other referees. But definitely this toss was not malice in any way, shape, or form. And this is a horrible, horrible ejection.
Was it ever? That fucking ref caught that ball first. He honestly caught the ball and then went, oh, he threw that at me and let go of the ball. And like, how the fuck are you giving them a technical on that? I mean, if you caught it and it was like nice and soft, it wasn't like he whipped it at you, but you caught the ball and went, holy shit, he threw that at me. I'm going to let go of the ball now and I'm going to technical. You're a dick. Yeah, I didn't like that play at all, man.
It was a brutal call for sure.
It was very brutal.
It's the worst ejection I've ever seen.
It might be the worst ejection the NBA has ever fucking seen. Like
so far,
it is bad, man. Like,
that was horrible, awful, as Shaquille O'Neal would say.
Yeah, and that's Kyle Lowry. That's a veteran. That's a fucking NBA champion. You're fucking talking about.
That's right.
And if you don't get me wrong, too, I think that ref actually had his hands out to accept that ball.
He caught the ball like it was like he saw it, and then Kyle must have said. I think Kyle might. I saw something when I was looking into this a little bit that said I think Kyle called him a pussy.
Then you are,
and I think
that's what he said
after
when he let go of the ball
toss and the little underhand toss. Maybe the ref thought maybe it broke his fingernail or something, and he got upset.
Yeah.
Then he called him a pussy, and that's when he fucking teed him up. So anyway, this is ridiculous. I mean, we always chirp refs, but they need to be better. They really
yeah.
Like, they're getting paid pretty good fucking chunk of change as well. And I know they make mistakes, but this is horrible. Just horrible.
Garbage.
I think we should be finding the fucking refs too for stupid plays.
They should find them 100%. Make the refs accountable too. You make a shit call, then you find that actual ref, and then maybe you find the crew chief a little bit something too, so that the crew chief says, yo, boys, like, why am I forfeiting some of my pay because you're an idiot? You decided to call a second tech on Kyle. But it is what it is. So anyway, NBA referee Matthew Kylo, you're in my box because you're a dick. Goof. You're a fucking goof. Okay, guys, that's gonna do it for our penalty boxes. So let's move into our scores for the week, for the episode. But before we get into the actual challenges this week, we have to update our NFL locks. Pete was in the lead, Jesse in second, I was in third, and Kevin was in fourth to start the week. Kevin and I went head to head, as did Peter and Jesse. I took the Atlanta Falcons, Kevin's favorite team, against New Orleans. New Orleans ended up winning, so that brought Kevin up to tie with me in third. So we're both sit at 7-11. Good enough for a big 0 points and penalty points.
All right.
Killing it, boys. Killing it.
Yeah, you bet. Pete and Jesse, as I said, went head to head. So Pete decided that he was going to take Jesse's Rams so that Jesse had to cheer against his favorite team. And he had to cheer for one of his most hated teams, the San Francisco 49ers. Game goes into overtime today. Pete was really hoping for a tie.
I was, because then the Rams don't win, but I would still win the blocks of the week. Would have been wonderful. I would have been super happy. Didn't happen though.
No, the Niners won, so that pushed Jesse up to 12-6 and equaled Pete with 12-6 as well. So they both come out on top. They are tied for first. So we'll reluctantly we'll give them both 2 points. And as I said earlier, Kevin and I will sit at 0 for our locks of the weeks from last season. This is carrying over. So now last night, Kev, you and myself, we hung out with Jesse and our significant others. We did a little Christmas Secret Santa exchange and a little party, as we're obviously all busy over the actual holidays. So So Kev, when we were really drunk last night, you decided that you thought for sure
Mappy trying would be
Matty
throwing.
Ice was going to throw 3 interceptions today.
Yeah.
That's a lot of interceptions, Kevin.
Oh well. I mean, it happens. I mean, Brady's throwing 4 and still won a game.
Well, but Matty Ice is not Tom Brady.
No, he's not. That's why I figured he would probably throw more than 4, but or 3. That's why I said 3. Whatever.
He did not. He threw 1 today.
Woo!
And so I guess Jesse made the odds here. So it was a 2-1 odd.
Fuck you, Jesse. You're not even on the show.
And so that is going to put Kevin to a -2
Right off the hip hop
for the bet. And that puts me +1 for the bet.
Yeah.
Kev, you couldn't even make it to the start of the episode at 0. You just live in the negative.
Buddy, I'm always about underdogs or always about doing some stupid shit. So, I mean, I am who I am.
That's an argument here.
All right, P, why don't you remind us what the challenge was this week? Who won, who lost, and I guess tally up our season totals.
Oh, I don't need a reminder. Our audience might, but I won the challenge, of course.
Of course.
First challenge of the season, I always win, apparently. But it was the age of Giovinco versus the age of Insigne when they joined TFC. I thought Giovinco was younger, which was correct. I thought he was a lot younger than he actually was, apparently. I thought he was like 20. Apparently he was like 28. But still younger than 30. That is Insigne. So, +1 for Peter, -1 for Josh. Which brings our season totals, starting with 0, but with everything that Josh just summarized, plus that one challenge. That brings Peter to +3 on the season.
It's got the early lead.
Early lead. Kevin drops to -2. Why a number above.
I mean, if I just said 1, it would have been fine because he did throw 1, right, Yosh?
He threw 1. He didn't throw 3.
Okay, I'm just saying if I would have went with 1, in my drunken stupidness, I always want more than 1.
The bet at 1. Of course he's gonna throw 1. Oh, fuck.
And Josh with the winner of that bet at the 1-2 odds, and the loss on the challenge remains at 0.
There you go, Yosh.
On the year.
So far, so
Not
good.
Bad.
Not too shabby at all.
Not bad. So that's Peter 3, Jesse 2, Josh 0, and Kevin -2.
Yeah.
Beauty.
Starting off the year with a bang.
Beauty start, boys.
As is usual.
Okay, guys, we got a couple things here left to do. Next one up. How's your drink? Kev?
My Junction Hazy IPA at a 6.2% was awesome. I mean, I like it. I mean, this IPA stuff, I mean, I'm only doing it on the podcast. I don't drink this on the regular. Trust me. But I like it. It was great. I think this one's right out of Toronto. Yeah, drew it out of Junction Craft Brewery, right out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Awesome. It was great. Pedro, how was your mega beer?
The mega can. The Hoppin' McElroy, brewed in Pasadena, Newfoundland, 5% from Western Newfoundland Brewing Company. I don't actually know. I think it's an IPA. I don't actually know. It doesn't say on the can. But it was pretty good. Solid. It's got a very craft brewery kind of taste to it, if that means anything to you. But yeah, it's a solid beer, and just about exactly enough to get through our episode. There's about one mouthful left out of this big, massive can.
Dude, that's massive if it lasted the whole entire episode.
So that's good. Yeah, it's pretty good. Josh, how was your, I forget what you had.
Muskoka Brewing Haze and Confused, 6.5% strong beer. It's really good. Just finishing up mine. Like you say, Pete, I'm pretty much right at the end of my second one here. So this is working out well. I really like this stuff. As like I said before, I'm pretty sure one of you guys have had this. Might have been Jesse in season 1, but that was then. This is now. And I enjoyed this. I'll definitely get this one again. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, so that's episode 1, boys. We did it. We got through.
Nice
Awesome.
and speedy. I love it.
Yeah, hopefully our listeners are enjoying this. Rather, well, maybe not. I shouldn't say rather quick, but it was faster than our last handful of episodes. That's for fucking sure. And we'll see how the editing goes this time, because who knows, folks? You might see us on YouTube soon. You never know.
Hi-oh. Keep an eye out.
Maybe. So
Yeah.
anyway, kids, we're gonna sign off here. So for everyone here, Points and Penalties, including the under the weather, Jesse, would like to thank you for listening to episode 1 of season 2. Please subscribe wherever you get your pods. Give us a like, follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Don't forget to share. It's at Points Penalties. And until next week,
Stay out of the penalty box.